You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today, we have our Total Wellness Tuesday show. Really looking forward to today's show. Spoke about yesterday. Hopefully you tuned into that. That was our Mindset and Motivation Monday. We talked about why failing forward is the answer you've been searching for. So if you didn't check out that show, I highly recommend it, because remember, what we talk about on a daily basis is how to achieve goals in life, how to take action, and really make that a simple way to take action on each and every show. But if you don't know why it's important to take action, if you don't know the steps that you need to take in order to take action and achieve those goals, then all these other goals don't matter as much. So always check out those Mindset and Motivation Mondays. They're absolutely one of my favorite shows of the week. And really, when I listen to it, when I actually create these shows or when I talk about them, it reinvigorates me. It really remotivates me to achieve a lot of the goals that I may have kind of put on the back burner. So check that out. Now, today's show is more wellness-based. It's how to wean off of caffeine. So when I talk about weaning off caffeine, what I mean is this. There are far too many people consuming far too much caffeine, and they think that there's no detrimental effects to their health. Because what we have right now is we have like kind of a media surge or an online surge of gurus who are recommending things like super low carb diets and a lot of caffeine and all these different caffeinated based products. And really, it's starting for like 8-year-olds now and playing sports and drinking Red Bull and Monster Energy and all these other ones. The problem is there are long-term repercussions to drinking that much caffeine. And what I'm not really talking about is having one small. Now, a small cup of coffee is 8 ounces, okay? So not 12, not 16, not one cup, which could be, a venti at Starbucks. What I'm talking about is a small coffee. One small coffee in the morning with breakfast or after breakfast, when it can be a little bit slower assimilated into the system and help with the digestion of food, or a green tea. That's a totally different story. What I'm talking about is more than that amount, more than the 200 milligrams really maximum that most people should be taking in. Now, you can actually look at your genetics and find out if you're a slow oxidizer or a fast oxidizer. And I talked a little bit about genetics on last Friday's show, but you can always run a genetic test to actually look, for that specifically. But my recommendation is this. If after drinking caffeine, you feel like you're revved up, well, then it is having a detrimental effect on your health. What it means is this, is that when you consume caffeine, you're basically giving your adrenal glands a little kick. So that might sound like a good thing, but it's not, because here's what happens. Your brain starts to tell your body to produce more adrenaline. Adrenaline is a stress hormone, and that adrenaline, that norepinephrine, sends signals as well to produce more cortisol. And again, cortisol might sound like a good thing, but here's the issue with it. Long term, over time, it weakens your immune system. It really does. It weakens your digestion. It can create higher levels of high blood pressure, higher levels of cholesterol. It can lead towards Alzheimer's and dementia, burning out brain cells and neurons and synapses. It can increase anxiety. It can decrease libido. All of these things are affected to people over time by increasing cortisol, increasing adrenaline. And again, as the analogy I always give is this. With caffeine, you're essentially whipping a tired horse. If a horse has run all day, it wants to rest. If you whip it, it will get up and run, but it does not want to. It wants to rest. Only by you whipping it, meaning like caffeine on the adrenals, will they start to produce that level of adrenaline or that level of cortisol. So if you are looking to heal from anything, psoriasis, eczema, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue, thyroid-based issues, skin issues, any of these things, you need to cut back your caffeine consumption, and especially anything really after that morning cup, small cup of an organic black coffee or a green tea. So here's why. Let me just give you just a few more points why. When you have caffeine later in the day, you are changing your diurnal rhythm. That means the largest amount of cortisol is produced right around 6 a.m. when you wake up. So if you have caffeine anywhere before 9 a.m. or so, it's natural. You are essentially raising your cortisol levels. Now, maybe higher than natural. I do agree with that. But you're doing it with the normal rhythm of your body. And then you are allowing those cortisol levels to gently decline over the period of the next 12 hours to 16 hours. And at that point, right around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, that is when your cortisol levels should basically be zero, and you should be going to bed, allowing for that melatonin to then be produced at night. So when you drink that caffeine around 1 o'clock or so, 2 o'clock, you are then spiking cortisol levels again, changing your body's diurnal rhythm. That can affect your sleep, and it can affect your sleep quality. It can lead to insomnia. Again, it can lead to accelerated heart rate, panic attacks, anxiety. Not ideal. So I want to share with you exactly what I do in my practice to help people wean off caffeine completely, or just cut down to that one black coffee in the morning. And again, if you want to use some coconut milk or almond milk, you're welcome to, but don't go with any of the other concoctions that people are talking about nowadays. It's not about biohacking. It's not. It's about being healthy. Okay. And the other thing I want to tell you is this. You can drink green tea, and a green tea, even with lunch, is not the worst thing, only because of this reason. You do not get the same spike in caffeine or cortisol that you would with coffee itself, because of theobromine and because of the L-theanine as well, and the other nutrients that are contained within the plant itself in the tea leaves. So I wouldn't recommend black tea. Certainly you could do your black tea in the morning just like a coffee, but the only one afternoon-wise that you might be able to get away with is a green tea, like before a workout or so. Okay, so let's talk about this. Here's exactly how I help people wean off of caffeine. The first week they begin to wean, let's just say you are going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or one of those coffee shops, and you are getting a 20-ounce coffee. Okay, so what we need you to do is drop that down from, again, I don't even know the size, but let's just say you're going from a venti now to a grande, which is the medium, or a large to a medium. That probably makes a lot more sense, right? Let's step back one level. Before you switch sizes, what I want you to do is this. Get the same exact size coffee that you always have. I want you to do is order it this way. Ask for half decaf, half regular, or a quarter decaf and 3/4 regular, all right? Because what I'm asking you to do with this is I have to keep you with your mind seeing the same size coffee. Because when your mind sees the same size coffee and the same amount of liquid, nothing changes from a psychological perspective. It's kind of like when we talk about weight loss. You have to make sure that you're filling your plate completely. But to fill your plate completely, I want you to use a 9-inch plate. It's very different than a 12-inch plate. Again, psychology then will tell your brain, oh, okay, we ate a full plate's worth of food, but if you put that same 9 inches worth of food on a 12-inch plate, it looks like you didn't fill up the entire plate. Very, very strong, actually, psychologically. All right, so your very first week, order the same size coffee. Just do half decaf regular, half regular, or do half or 3/4 regular, a quarter decaf. And then what I'd like you to do that next week is this. I want you to then take your half decaf, half regular, and I want you to take that back to one size, down one size, okay? So say now you were doing the large, half decaf, half regular, week 1. I want you to take that to a medium now, half decaf, half regular, week 2. Okay, so what we did was we kept the same concoction, which we'll call it a half calf. And then on week 2, we just cut back the size-wise. So now, yes, your brain knows you are cutting back, but you are now used to getting in a little less caffeine. And again, if you need to, you can always do the 3/4 caffeinated, 1/4 decaf. I'm not asking you to do this overnight, and I'm not asking you to do this cold turkey, because if you've been consuming a lot of caffeine, you will get a headache from the caffeine withdrawal. Sometimes when people do our detox, they just cut out all of their caffeine and coffee right away. You will get a headache most likely. I mean, that's just the way it is. You just took a drug out of your system, which is caffeine. So if you need to, even the detox, although it's not ideal, still do a small tea or coffee in the morning. It's not ideal, but still, it's better than not doing the detox at all. That's what we always tell people. Okay, so then you did that week 2. You just went down a size. Now, week 3, you're going to go down one more size. So you're going to go from a large to a medium to a small, or what you're going to do is if you already just went from medium to a small, half decaf, half regular, I don't want you to finish the whole thing. Now, let's see how you do with that. And your very last week then, your week 4, then you will do the smallest size possible, and you will do all decaf. Now, if you're making it at home, hopefully you can do a water-processed organic decaf that does not have any of the solvents that you don't want for the negative effects from decaf-based coffee. So that allows you then, over a 4-week period of time, very slowly to go from the same size, just half decaf, half regular, to then week 2 down a size, to week 3 down one more size, and to week 4 doing completely decaf completely, okay? So that is how I wean people off caffeine very slowly, and it's very, very effective. I've done it myself. And what it does then, it allows you as well to start to get yourself better in better adrenal balance and better thyroid balance. When you put less stress on your endocrine system, which means your hormone system, and you're stressing your adrenals less, you are then going to allow your thyroid gland to be fully nourished, or meaning to be less shut off. Because when you produce adrenaline and when you produce cortisol or glucocorticoids, you will start to block the production of thyroid hormone, and you will actually block T3 to being switched over to reverse T3. Really important stuff to learn about. And again, they don't teach this. Like, you're not going to hear that from even if you go to an endocrine specialist, you're just not. So this is really, really important. But again, if you're someone who just loves coffee, you might want to try the Swiss Water Process Organic Decaf, or you might want to just keep your one coffee in the morning, but simply just have that. Just have it with breakfast or after breakfast. Another thing you may want to try is just having a small coffee, but not finishing the whole thing. That's what I like to do a lot of times. Like if I'm out or if I'm at an early morning meeting or whatever it might be, and we're meeting for a coffee or tea. I'm not a big tea drinker. I like ginger tea, and I especially use that a lot during a detox. But me and tea don't really mix that well. I don't enjoy the taste of it. I'm just not that into it. I wish I was, but I'm also just not going to force myself to drink it because I do my daily greens in the morning. I do my daily nutritional support powder. I don't need to drink the tea to get the benefit of that as well. So I'll do my ginger, and I do really enjoy ginger, especially with meals. And I do my lemon water and lime and all that great stuff. But what I will do is I will order a coffee, and I'll just do organic black, especially if I'm choosing the place, I can choose it. And I just don't drink the whole thing. So I get to enjoy the routine, the process of actually sipping a nice hot cup of coffee. And if that's something that you enjoy too, that's great. And just like myself, you might not need to finish the whole thing. You can just sip on it slowly. So another thing you might want to think about if you're a coffee drinker and you want more benefits and you still want a little bit of that caffeine is switch to green tea. Switch to a matcha. A lot of people love matcha lattes, which means you can get coconut milk or almond milk, and you can mix that with the matcha powder, which is green tea basically powder, and get organic or get the wild grown matcha, and that makes a really nice latte as well. I think you might enjoy that as well. So try to do a little experimentation is what I'm saying too. I've used something called chaga tea, and I've talked about that on a previous Friday review. Chaga tea mixed with coconut milk is absolutely fantastic and delicious. So that I do enjoy. So again, you can start to trick your body, trick your mind, and if you need to wean off the caffeine just to make sure you don't get those headaches, absolutely something that I've recommended hundreds of times, if not 1,000 times, and it's worked exceptionally well. If you have any questions, please feel free to write in at stephencabral.com/Ask Cabral. All right, so we're going to end the show there. One last note I will give you is this, that if you are someone who has become dependent on caffeine, or you're someone who maybe even doesn't even think that you are dependent on caffeine, I challenge you over the next 30 days to use this specific process. You can always go back to drinking all the coffee in the world that you would like, but what I would like you to do is actually see how much better you may feel once you actually get your own natural energy levels to rise, rather than artificially spiking them through caffeine use all day long. Remember, it is a drug, it is a supplement, and it is a supplement used by, the greatest amount of people will say in the world. It is the number one drug. So what I'd like you to do is just do a 30-day challenge. Try to wean yourself off, and then you can even add back in just that one cup of coffee, black tea, or green tea in the morning. Thank you, everyone, and feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could help. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.